Hello and welcome back to my channel, Ripples by Gia. I am your host, Gia, and today I'm joined by a very dear friend, a colleague, a individual that really transformed and transitioned my perspective on the Akashic Records. I would like to present you to Alicia. Alicia works with accomplished, conscious women who know they're ready for deeper level of clarity and inner authority. With a background in management consulting and more than 25 years in the Akashic Records, she blends strategic precision with intuitive discernment, and she creates a steady, judgment-free space where powerful women redefine their leadership and expand their impact with greater ease. Alicia, welcome to Ripples by Gia. I am so honored and so grateful you're here to talk about all the energetics, the Akasha, and how we can work with it through our vessel and our body. Welcome.
I'm so delighted to be here. I'm very keen actually to see where we go today because I know we're just going to flow.
Yes,
And so, yeah, thank you for inviting me.
absolutely. It is my pleasure. Now, as my audience already knows, we're usually unscripted and we are unscripted today as well. So
Yeah.
I want to just go ahead and start asking you about your journey a bit. 25 years, I mean, more than 2 decades in the Akashic Records, is quite a bit of time. And you're definitely not the new age spirituality, beginner level. So I really am curious to know 25 years ago, how did you land in the Akashic Records and how did you evolve your relationship to be where you are today with it?
Oh, I'll keep that. I'll do a shorter version of the story, but the first thing I'm being guided to say is I'm actually noticing, the 25 years in the Akashic Records, and that's not complete truth. Because the truth is, we're always in the records. We're always, even if we've never heard the term, we've never consciously connected. It is something that we do access, even when we're not aware of it. At moments of great inspiration, or when we're really we just feel compelled to do something or say something like so. I might come back to that, but yeah, 25 years ago, I heard the term Akashic Records,
Mhm.
and it zinged through me. I was like, "What is this? What is that?" And it was in a class that my teacher had said these words, and so about 2 months later, I said, "Tell me more about this thing that you said, the Akashic Records." And she said, "Yeah, we do a reading, and we can do it." And so I came to the reading, and by the way, I found the teacher because I had been quite sick and in a lot of pain, and told that there was no cure, just surgeries when it got really bad and painkillers. And I that's when I thought there's got to be a better way. And that's how I met my teacher in the first place. And so the Akashic Records felt like another opening, another a deepening of what I was already learning with her regarding intuition and the flow of energy.
Mhm.
And that very first reading, it was 1 hour. I remember it very vividly how I felt, like the table, how I was lighting candles, I was nervous, I was excited. And at the end of that 1 hour session, my life was completely different
Mhm.
because I was different. And it wasn't so much that I had changed, but I'd remembered. I'd remembered that life is meant to be beautiful. It's not meant to be so hard. And I remember this feeling of, I lived in Chicago at the time in a three flat, and I wanted to go up to the rooftop and just with my megaphone go, "Oh my gosh, we can all do this. We have access to this information and this shift in energy." And I was so excited. So yeah, that naturally led to me learning how to do it later that year. So that's how I began.
I absolutely love that because, I think again, I always talk about being a commander of your field
Mhm,
and, really taking charge of your life and not being
mhm.
the victim of
Yeah.
things that are just happening. So I think this example shows a you know, amazing revolution and transition from pain to purpose
Mm,
and, going into your highest self. and moving forward that way. So that's amazing, amazing. And, I think when I first kind of expressed to you why I wanted you on the podcast, I said, I haven't heard this anywhere else
Mm,
except from you. And I believe it's the truth. Actually, no, I know it's the truth, not believe.
mm,
I know it's the truth that not, we don't have a fixed future because we
mm,
are constantly co-writing the future with the Akashic records.
mhm.
So we're not just reading the records, we're writing the records.
Yes.
So when did you realize that we are writing them, that we are the co-author of it? And, how did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, I think I had the clarity of it came like at about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But there were experiences I'd had with clients when I was working in the records with them,
Hmm.
where we were looking at something. Usually, people are working on something in their body or in their life or their relationship, their money that's causing pain
Hmm.
and looking to change that. And so I was working with somebody, and as we were looking at, there was another lifetime that was connected and playing out. It got re-triggered in this lifetime. And as he was clearing it,
Mm.
what I saw is that he in the other life was starting to shift too. Like I saw his energy shift, his posture, the way he moved, the way he felt about the experience that he'd been in this other lifetime, which was very traumatic. It was a war situation. That shifted. And now it's like, oh, so not only is this lifetime changing because he's making different choices or shifting his perspective on something or reclaiming his power in some way, but this other version of him in another incarnation was as well. I'm like, well, that's interesting because technically it's in the past. It's not, but it was like, but that lifetime is evolving as he does here and now, because we're never really separate from any aspects of ourselves, no matter what time dimension or place we're in. So that was really fascinating to me. And it continued to grow as I continued to work with others. But yeah, I just remember being asked, what is, what, I can't remember the exact question, but what is it that we're here to do with the records? And it was, we're not here to reference the records, although we can when we have confusion or we have some indecision or we just need some clarity around something.
Mhm.
We are the creators. We're the ones writing what goes into the records, and we're writing it through every decision, through every breath, through every experience. And we're doing that not just with what we've done, but we can do it with how we want to live now and into the future that we're creating. And it's I don't know that I haven't heard it taught that way, but I believe that it has been taught that way in the past, and maybe it got hidden or it's just not been as widely shared.
Mhm.
But the Akasha is pure creation. It is. It's almost, yeah, everything comes out of that. And the records are an aspect of the Akasha,
Mhm.
but it's just where we're storing information and we can access it and even rewrite. But the Akasha is the larger field, 0 point, infinite possibilities.
I love that answer so much because I feel like when we acknowledge that we can write our future and it's not fixed, we bust that myth of, oh, I'm destined for, this misery or this, this is my life and I have to accept this, what God gave to me.
Mm.
It's like, no, God gave us power
Yes,
and we have access to these tools and modalities and we can change it. We can script it.
absolutely. That's what we're here for. We wouldn't be here to live out a plan that some other being had created for us. What would be the point of that? Right? It'd be so dull.
Exactly.
And yeah, no, we are the evolution. Um, we are creation, living, breathing, and expressing in every aspect of our lives. And that's even down to doing the dishes or, how we decide to take the rubbish out, right?
Yeah.
It's every part of it is us expressing and experiencing. And as we're living our lives, we're actually transmitting all this information, the understanding we develop, the knowledge, the wisdom that we gather. We're transmitting that back to our soul, and our soul expands. And our soul is really, we're not separate from the soul and God, but if you think about it, that then becomes part of the whole of God creation. So creation expands. Every day we're on purpose because we're expanding creation. It's kind of cool, really, if you think about it that way.
It is very, very cool. And, going back to what you said, that this information and knowledge has been either hidden or forgotten. And again, I don't think that's just happening. I think that's really intentional, but you know who? So definitely there. But we are always writing our story, right? Our actions, our free will, the choice points we are making are taking us a step forward in evolution and growth, right? Whether it's bringing the outcomes that we desire or sometimes the outcomes we don't desire.
Mhm.
So, talking about the subconscious mind here a bit with the Akashic records,
Mhm.
how do fear and doubts and unconscious patterns affect how we write the records out? Like how do you feel like that plays out? Because unconsciously we make a lot of choices too.
We do. In fact, we think that we're making everything consciously, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
often, that decision that we're making is informed by our unconscious and subconscious. And so that's really like where the real power of the of working in the Akasha is. Like when you come into full coherence, what you are thinking and saying that you wish to create, to experience, to enjoy,
Yeah.
and you have full alignment with your unconscious and subconscious, it's like that. There's no, it just is,
Mm.
because we are fully aligned. And the interesting thing about the human experience is that often we're not fully aligned. It's like, for example, I want more money, or I want X amount of money. But if we've had any conditioning, programming, assumptions we've made growing up, usually, or in other lifetimes, around money, that it means you're not spiritual, or that you're greedy, or you can't be trusted, or you're going to make it all about the money and lose your spiritual connection, vows of poverty, all the things that can come up. If we've got any of those in our subconscious and unconscious, those get triggered. And it's not that they have power over us, they come up. So if we say, I want more money in my business or whatever it might be, and then it's just not happening, it's like,
Mm.
oh, rather than go, nothing I do works, I'm not meant to have this, I suck, whatever story one might say, is go, well, I'm choosing this and I'm experiencing this. So there's a misalignment. Ooh, how cool, how interesting. Because now I can go and look at, where is the misalignment? What is it that I need to be aware of, or can uh, clear, or
Mm.
just align, remember, that will allow that coherence to be fully open again. Um, so I hope that
Yes,
answers your
that does. No,
question.
that really does. I
Yeah.
think, again, it is really what you said to it, I loved is it's really the coherence
Mm-hmm.
that we have. It's our unity with our spirit and
Mm-hmm.
understanding, what truly at the moment is not lighting it up and what's killing my spirit, right? Versus
Mm-hmm.
just continuing and accepting, like, oh yeah, like this is it, this is done, whatever, I don't care. But it's really taking that charge and going, no, I don't want this to be a reality. And,
Yes.
how
Yes.
am I going to get the clarity to transition this reality? And how can I find acceptance and peace with everything that's going on and still move forward to my desire? And I think even hello. So we just had a bit of a internet, I think, glitch or a Zoom glitch, and we're just popping back on now here. I believe I was talking about the coherence of the the heart and, really not being a victim of the mindset and moving forward there. But again, I think I'm gonna have to clip these videos and get really, really creative with how I do that because I was cut half sentence last time. So if you're watching this, I sincerely apologize for that. Hopefully we can edit that out very, very quickly. But Alicia, as this cut off, you mentioned that you were getting more and more information,
Yes.
right? Do you want to share that information? Because
I
I'm
would
excited to
love
hear what you
to.
got.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it was something that like I mentioned that, the records, I believe they have been taught in that way that really the records are like a library, but there's a whole, if you want to think about them as a library, I get this vision of like this whole, it's beyond a kingdom, but there's the
Mm,
library, just one resource in this field of infinite possibilities. And I do believe I know that this has been taught in this way before, but what I wanted to share is that it's not necessarily that it's been hidden or it has been hidden. It has been probably with taken out of mainstream. It's the Akashic Records. When I first started, it was, you just didn't hear about it, at least in the Western Hemisphere.
mm,
And now it's become, it's a lot more. People don't go, what was that, as much as they used
yeah.
to. But also, I know, and I'm sure you and many of your listeners, like this is not my first time on the planet. This is not
Yeah.
my first time uh, working with the records in this way. And I had made vows to protect them. So there were vows and promises and energetic kind of binding, as it were, in a way to protect this information. And what's really exciting about where we are on the planet right now is, I and you and many of us have been on this conscious awakening, or this remembering is what I like to call it.
Mm,
And we're at this point now where we are remembering more and more. And that those vows of protection, they aren't then more of a hindrance now than a protection. And so that's something I did last year, was release these vows that I had made. And it's freed me up to start talking about this to talk about this more openly. So it's a very exciting time to be here. And then there was one other thing that was coming up before we got cut off, was that, the unconscious and subconscious parts of us who aren't in alignment with what we're consciously
mhm.
choosing or thinking or deciding are not bad. They're not negative. They're not wrong. They're not here to try to pull us back. They're doing something to keep us safe. They're doing something that they have learned or assumed or assimilated at some point in time, in this or perhaps another lifetime, that was to support us, to keep us safe. So these parts of us are not bad. They're not naughty, children, as it were. They have wisdom. They have
Yeah.
something to share us. So I think just coming into a place of love for yourself, and never, it's not about saying never, not making what's happening in your reality, if it's not aligned with what you want, a mistake, or that you're wrong, or you just don't get it. It's like, it's a gift. Oh, there's something that's not quite in coherence. And I now have the awareness or the opportunity to look at that,
Mm,
and just approach your unconscious, your subconscious, and your body with
yeah.
love and appreciation for doing all it could to keep us safe all this time. And that now it's ready. It's giving us the signal, hey, something isn't quite matching or resonating here. And so I felt really guided to share that, because I do see even like really amazing, successful, smart women. It might be like they're really successful, smart in their business or in their career. And then there's perhaps typically one relationship or one
Mm,
certain area of their life where they feel like they haven't quite got it together, and they're judging and blaming and shaming themselves. And it's like, I'm just going to say, stop that
yeah.
and
Yeah.
be curious. Go, oh, this is interesting. I've got that bit figured out. But over here, my romantic relationship keeps blowing up, or yeah, I make great money and then it goes out as quickly as it came in. It's like, oh, or maybe it's a health issue, and it's like, look at it instead as this. We're in an amazing place to be curious and explore and learn, and things can shift. What I'm finding is what used to take me personally, or working with a client, maybe 3 or 4 sessions to clear, can happen just like that. Like literally in one thought, one insight, one moment, a revelation, a remembrance, and it's boom, done. And we don't even have to go back and reference it. It's just gone. So yeah,
I
it's
love
a really
that.
good time to be here.
I'm so happy we got cut off, Alicia. I because oh my goodness, wow. Like this is great, great. And I think again, like to the point of don't be too hard on yourself. Everyone has a subconscious mind. It's not perfect. It's not
Yeah,
meant to be perfect. It's meant to highlight things for you. So then you can decide what you want to do and how you want to alchemize,
yeah.
these thoughts and feelings and vibrations and whatever is going on for you. I also loved your awareness from your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time, I vowed to always be a guardian for the records. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm understanding that I can put down my armor and I can
Yes.
play, and I
Yeah.
don't have to be guarded all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's no longer required of me. And I think that is such a important detail in there because in our lives, how many times do we just wear the armor and we just
Yeah.
keep it on? And even though it feels so heavy, it's dense, we just keep it on and we just keep moving on. And the battles keep finding us then because, well, we're dressed as a knight.
Yes. Right. Yes.
Yeah, like I see that quite a bit happening. And that's amazing to know that you were able to, again, with your free will and understanding that you're able to co-write and
Yes.
collaborate with your Akashic Records and the infinite creation realm of point zero field, you reverse that for yourself.
Yes. And there's infinite possibilities. Every decision, every
Yeah.
choice we make is opening up a new line of possibilities, like a new timeline, if you want to think about it that way. Um, and just before we started the recording, you and I were talking about, this is meant to be just a flow. It's not about being perfect. And that's what I'm seeing. Like you're talking about the armor is, especially women, we feel like we have to be perfect, always groomed or always like calm, always clear, like boom, 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 whatever
Yeah.
story we have around what it means to be seen in the world and how we want to be seen. And what we were talking about is like being real is more important now than that, I think, in my lifetime anyway, than
Mhm.
ever before. And because we resonate with that, we don't need the polished perfection. We
Right.
want the authenticity, the what's real. And we're not always put together. I was sharing before we started recording, I felt really despondent yesterday. And I realized that it wasn't about anything happening right now. There might have been echoes. It kind of was like, oh, I remember what that feels like. It was a release of things I'm no longer willing to carry in my body and that I hadn't ever felt safe enough to release before. So I
Yeah.
just, again, I keep coming back to that word excited. I'm excited for what I know. There are crazy things happening in the world and things that might be shocking or disturbing. And yet it's like it's tearing away all that isn't real and allowing for that which is to be seen and brought back into wholeness.
Yeah, I love that. And I talk a lot about timelines and time, and I think time is a crazy concept that's been, again, completely inverted. And it's almost always everything is a sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knows how to control this thing called time because it's
Mm-hmm.
constantly slipping away. And there's all these timelines are running from society programming, from cultural programming, from, of course, our own desires and reflection. I truly feel like time is moving very, very differently in today's reality.
Mhm.
And talking about timelines too, because we're living every version of us at all times. We're whole in every moment. I'm really curious to know, what do the Akashic records, or how does time feel for you from that perspective of the Akasha? Like, what really, how would you define time?
Mm. Oh, what a great question. I keep coming back to that. Time is, as you said, it's not, there is really no time. Like the human world that we have is a really wonderful construct to help us in a linear way or a logical way process things. But we've all experienced deja vu. I know utterly, I've had glimpses of the future, including buildings, like literally brick and mortar that the next day weren't there and they were there 18 months later. So I, so some, you or some of your listeners may have had like these senses of things that then they weren't there the next day, or it's like they shifted into a whole different reality, and a conversation that they thought they'd already had, they were having. And they're like, hang on, I've already had this conversation. I've had dreams like that. I've had a conversation with somebody, very specific topic, and talked to people about it after, saying it was so weird. Like, this is what we talked about. And then 3 months later, the actual conversation unfolded. So from the point of the Akasha, there is no time. It is something that we use to help process and organize things for our brains, as it were. But yeah, and all possibilities are open. So I think of timelines as it's a choice point that then, like, other infinite possibilities line up with that. So we're constantly, every day, every second, if you think about it, it literally is mind blowing. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, uh, there was something else. I'm just going to tune in just a moment. We don't need to be masters of time. We need to be masters of our choices.
I love that.
And it's not need to be, it's an invitation. But
Yeah.
when we can choose and come back into conscious choices and knowing how to come into coherence subconsciously, unconsciously, and consciously, and just with our body's wisdom, then, yeah, that's where then we can collapse time, we can accelerate outcomes, I've actually had experiences where the whole situation, even including a medical diagnosis, completely shifted. Even one with my own sister, where her pregnancy, she's let me know, I can share it. She was being told to terminate because of some complications, they said, with the baby, and it wouldn't survive. And she said no. The next appointment she had, and she was with one of the top hospitals in London with one of the ultrasounds that now is more common, but it was like seeing the whole baby, right?
Yeah.
And they like suddenly the whole diagnosis or what they were saying, they were recommending, completely shifted. Her medical records didn't show it. They changed the due date of the baby by 7 weeks, from December 21st to February 20th or something. It was insane. It was actually more than 8 weeks. But we'd had conversations. She's spoken to my mum. So we had all this like remembrance of this is what happened. And the fun part of that story is I went into the records to say, what happened here? Like, are we all like in some other time warp or reality? And what had happened is that there was a timeline my sister was on where she did terminate the pregnancy, but she made a choice. She said no. And then the whole other timeline opened up. And her child, the soul of her child, said, okay, well, if I'm coming in, I want a different set of tools. And the planets, when we're going through when we're being born, so through the contractions or however we're born, the planets, like there are energies that we pull in, that we immerse ourselves in, that it kind of becomes tools that we get to use in this life. and she chose a different set of tools, and she changed her due date and her actual birth date. And it's pretty remarkable. She's an amazing young lady, by the way. She's my niece. So yes, so timelines can shift like in ways that even when we've got doctor's notes and medical diagnoses and things, I've had many experiences where they've completely been rewritten.
I am so amazed by this story because usually we are, again, programmed to really trust authority figures like medical experts,
Yes.
especially in our life, and trust that system. And we
Mhm.
always tend to override our intuition and our own inner knowing, going, no, no, they're experts, they know. And how many times blindly do we follow advice like that
Mhm.
without just completely giving up our power? And I actually, even myself, I can relate to that a lot with timelines because I remember I was 9 years old when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And at 9, I was not psychic the way I am now. I didn't have the awareness and the control over my abilities. But I remember very clearly the specialist on site, again, I don't know why they think this is normal, but when you're newly diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, the first thing they do is instead of calming you down, giving you encouragement, they give you a list of what everything that can go wrong with you. They give
Mm.
you a list of risks of your life and what you have to do to avoid all of this happening to you because you're a disease. And I remember, there were things on that list like your kidneys will fail by the age of 25 and you won't be able to ever hold a baby in pregnancy and you can lose your eyesight in a certain like in 30 years of diabetes and you can get like blood pressure and all these list of things that were meant to happen to me, right? I just looked at my doctor straight in the face. I was 9 years old. I remember I said, none of this is going to happen to me. And he and he went, well, I wouldn't be so confident. I'm like, no, no, I will break the records. Because he said in the world, in their database, that's never happened. That there's been no diabetic patient that hasn't suffered from at least one of these issues. And there's 20 issues on that list. And I said, it's okay, I'll be the first. I'm like, you can meet me when I'm old, an old lady. I'm gonna be fine. You'll watch me as an old lady. I was so confident. And
Yeah.
I feel like, again, that came out of my soul when I said that to him.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm 29. I was diagnosed 20 years ago. I don't have any complications.
Yeah.
Because I guess my spirit then triggered that timeline of no,
Mhm.
no, no, I'm not on that timeline. Sorry, bye. I don't like this
Yeah.
choice. I'm not being on this timeline. And, then I was 21 and a doctor told me you're going to be bedridden for the rest of your life. And I said, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
So I go, no, no, I'm not. So I really feel like we do command our field and we do trigger, like you said, certain things in the timeline from our free will that
Yes.
we co-write, we co-collaborate with, and we move forward with that frequency and vibration of creating that energy then for it to actually become a reality.
Yes.
And now what I love about time is I don't take it seriously at all because I have this awareness now and I've played around a lot, right? But I'm finding now more than ever, I would say from September 2025, there's no lag in time.
Mm.
It's instant feedback. You're thinking something, there's a vibration, there's a thought, you instantly see something that synchronizes with that, or the
Mm.
reality presents itself. There's no lag in time. So,
Mm.
this word of creation, that we're creating this, we're truly creating it. And there is no lag in time. Things are instantly showing up, right?
Mhm.
And this is when I say that, in your mind, if you're thinking every single day you wake up and you're like, oh my God, like, F this job. I hate this job. I don't want to go to this job. I don't want to go to this job. Don't go.
Mm.
Hold that. Don't go. Find a new place. Do something that you want to do. because there's no lag in time. You are
Mm.
actually the commander of time. Is here to serve you.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been taught the opposite.
Yes, yes. And even actually, like if you think, most of us, go to school and, the school bell, and this is when you're going to sit. This is when you're going to go play. This is when you're going to go to the bathroom. This is when you're going to eat. So there's been this kind of sense of we can't just follow and trust our own desire or our own physical needs. And that's something outside of us, like a bell, or whoever decided that that was the time to ring the bell,
Yeah.
has more control or power over us than we do. So this really is a time for us to really reclaim, remember that we have that power. We decide. And there's all kinds of wonderful things that we're getting to do now because of that, including shifting the frequency on the whole planet.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So I always get this question. I'm sure you've heard this question too from your clients or anyone you've worked with. So when we say, the record keepers
Mm-hmm.
and the Akasha, I usually personally define it as, they are your guardians, your guides
Mm-hmm.
assigned to you from birth to support you on this planet in,
Mm-hmm.
really being on your mission and your path. And they do switch once in a while. You'll see
Mm-hmm.
more forces coming in or more forces leaving. There is support like that in the unseen realms. I, however, do feel like the Akashic record keepers are running this own company amongst each other to put into human forms and make it more, I guess, digestible. And I feel like they are literally contracted with us in this timeline to make sure that whatever choice we make, and we do detour sometimes, we take a different path or whatever it is, to always bring us back to the original sacred timeline
Mm-hmm.
and to keep that track going as they are keeping record of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is my kind of understanding of who they are and how they work. How would you define the record keepers in your like perspective or any
Mm-hmm.
experiences you've had with them?
Yeah. Oh, this is so fascinating. I agree. I feel like we have record keepers. My sense is they are beings who typically haven't incarnated into physical form. Like this is their purpose. They really love that cosmic librarian, as it were, role, and they're assigned, or they work with us. And I get a sense that the records are not just for this lifetime, but all lifetimes, including other times and dimensions, other planets, other systems.
Mm.
But they're working with us. They're guardians of the records, and they're record keepers. They're keeping the records. They're there to assist us when we do consciously go in to say, "Hey, this is what's going on, and this is what I want to create. So, what do I need to shift or
Mhm.
know or be aware of that's not in alignment with that?" And they can pull it up from any lifetime. It might not be this one. It could be another one. It might not even be as a human. They'll bring that information forwards. Um, and there was something else that you shared. So just a second. Yeah, so they are a part of our team. They do not interfere with free will.
Yeah.
They will not make decisions for us, but they will bring forwards information. And so that's why I think, especially if we're going into the records rather than just like the pure Akasha, the field of creation, if we're going specifically into the records, the question and the way we ask the question is really pertinent to how that information will come back. It resonates. The way we ask the question resonates with how are we in victim mode? Like, when will I get a job? I hate this job.
Yeah.
Like, so that is, I don't have a say. Some life is happening to me. The next job is out there. You're going to bring it to me. So the answers will correspond to your level of awareness and willing to be in your power and place of choice.
Yeah.
And the more we're in a place of choice and conscious awareness, the deeper and the answer and yeah, vaster, like just have more access to more. The other thing I'm being guided to share is that um, you and I, I learned a particular method to go into the records, and there are books and courses and so many teachers, and it doesn't matter how we start our journey, but the more time we are consciously exploring or connecting with not just the Akashic records, but the Akasha, our creative energy. What I found is that we're just more in awareness. Our awareness expands, and the answers or the information, the guidance is just there. So we don't, as I've spent more time in this, like for my clients and with myself, I don't need to consciously open the records. I'm there, I'm in there. So yeah, spontaneous or intuitive responses just flow more easily.
Yeah. And I love that too because, again, everyone's probably assuming when we're talking about the Akashic records right now that we're going somewhere up in the Akasha, up in the sky and grabbing all this like cool like cosmetic like, stuff and like crystals and whatever and grits, but the reality is the records are actually stored in your body.
Yes.
We go with our body. So that's why I call like your body the portal and the wisdom keeper because it
Mm-hmm.
truly is the wisdom keeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you and me we've connected on this a lot of times. The most sacred thing is the oceans and the whales are the guardians of the actual Akashics.
Yes.
And yeah, they carry the sacred songs, the tribes, the pod, the sacred way of being, and they travel interdimensionally throughout
Yes.
the layers and times and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually we go through the body. We don't go leaving the body, we go from the body.
Yes.
So, that would make a lot of sense because again, when we are in that unfortunate, sometimes, life gets to us and we're in that little like, we're done. We don't see hope. We're a little like, screw this, I'm over it, I'll drink a bottle of wine and hopefully I'll feel better and that kind of stuff. But that's the exact moment I tell my clients, that is the exact moment to actually get back in your body and ask your body, what do you require from me right now to move forward?
Yeah.
Because the wisdom is in your body and you're constantly reading your body. And that's why your body is the first to always signal to you when things are not in alignment.
Yes. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've always done that because every time I've opened anyone's Akashic record, I have body sensations.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, in the
Yeah.
organs and all of that. And I can almost feel their frequency of the record keepers, even my clients, like, their field, I can feel it. And everyone's Akashic record looks very different.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've gone in, it's like a garden. Sometimes I've gone in and it's like a cabin in the woods.
Yes.
Or it's really your frequency. Whatever you are is what your Akashic record looks like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I actually had a client of mine, not recently, a couple of years ago. She came in and, very intuitive, very, very intuitive person herself. And she said that whenever she's trying to go into her Akasha, she sees nothing. It's blank and she's feeling blocked and
Mm-hmm.
she can't connect. And I'm like, okay. And she came to me as like a second opinion and to see what I could do if I could connect. And the first thing, even before I could say, okay, do I have your permission to open your records? Her record keepers were like, yeah, she's not in her body.
Mm.
She's left the
Wow.
body. She's disassociated from her environment.
Mhm.
So she's seeing nothing. She's not in neutrality enough to even access information.
Mhm.
So that's why I always say this channel is about highest consciousness information,
Yeah.
but it's really about landing all of that in your portal, your body.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in your body, you cannot access any of that information. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's just so out there. You won't anchor it. Yeah. I had a client that I was teaching in England back in 2003, maybe 2004. And I had a client who, when the first day we just kind of opened up the records just to feel what it felt like and kind of move around, and she got all kinds of input. Some people don't see because that's not their natural ability, but they could feel or hear or sense, and she got all of it. The next day when we were going in to actually explore and create and ask questions, it was blank. And now I'm hearing what you're sharing. I'm like, oh, it makes sense. She was scared. It
Yeah.
was okay when she knew there were no questions and she wasn't going to have to do anything. But once she knew, oh, I'm here to make decisions or change some things, and she was very scared, she didn't feel safe. And so she could see there was nothing, it was just blank. And so I think it's all good feedback, isn't it? It's like, oh, there's a part of me. I'm not either not in my body, or there's a part of me that doesn't feel safe to be in this space. And the records are only love and truth.
Hmm.
So it's not that the records aren't safe, but we're not feeling safe to be seen or recognized, loved. It's our relationship to that. Our relationship to love and truth can affect our ability to really explore and open as widely as we'd like.
100%. I think it just comes back again to that whole, the simple truth of you attract who you be.
Mm-hmm.
You really do, right? So if you're in the love vibration, you're in the vibration of I'm safe no matter what, I feel whole,
Mm-hmm.
you access that vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
You access that frequency. And if you're in fear, resistance, you're like, no, 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 I don't like, I don't know what's going to happen if I change this and do that, then you are going to get the roadblocks because you're going to attract more of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to attract exactly what you don't want to attract. So I feel like it goes back to that simple, simple truth. And again, I think the Akashic records are very simple.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as complicated. Like sometimes I'll see stuff that comes up on my feed and I'm just like, girl, please. It's not that complicated. You don't have to be this awakened, yogi. Like you're born with it. You're
Yes.
literally you inherit your Akashic records, you inherit your guides,
Yeah.
your team. It is not something that goes to chosen ones,
Mm-mm.
special ones. That's all bullshit.
Yeah, we all, yeah. It is a birthright. Um, and that's interesting because I know, like, I've learned a couple of different methods, and the first method was very contained. This is a prayer, don't leave it anywhere, don't memorize it, like, keep it very safe, and don't let anybody see it by accident. They won't be able to use it. And to now it's really, when I teach, I some people like a framework, like a step by step process to get comfortable, but it really is the intention. It's our decision to go into that space and to know that it exists first, but then to go into that space is really, that's the key.
Mm,
Deciding.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any closing message or notes or anything you like to leave the listeners with today?
I love that question. Um, I think it leads on from what you just shared, Gia, that the records aren't only for the select few or those who are spiritually trained or attuned. We are living, breathing Akashic records. The Akasha is what is pure creation, and so the records are just one aspect of this space that we have access to, and it's just by remembering that this is our birthright and that it contains only love and truth. And so coming into a space where we can be comfortable with love and be comfortable with truth allows us to navigate more easily in the records. And if we're not, then we can absolutely ask, like, where am I not feeling like I have love for myself? What part of me is not loving or accepting myself? Where am I not telling myself the truth? Where am I living in illusion or making up a story that actually isn't truth?
Mm.
And just allow ourselves to start kind of go in that way, if you like. But the records are uh, one of the greatest, not just a space and or a tool, but also an energy for us to create the life we want to live now, here and now.
I love that so much because I got full body chills when you said that. Yeah, we're not powerless. We have
Mm-hmm.
a lot more authority and power than we've been led to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for all your wisdom that you shared, your time and your energy and your presence on, this platform here today and gracing me with it, of course. I love our little chit chats as well. And for all of you that are tuning into this podcast and you want to work one-on-one with Alicia or you have further questions, I will have her Instagram, her social media, her website, everything linked below in the description for you. You can definitely reach out to her and connect with her there. And thank you so much. I can talk to you forever, and I'm almost like I don't want this to end, but
Oh no, it's been fun. I've loved it every minute. Yeah.
so I am gonna have to close this podcast for now, and hopefully in the future we can collaborate again. And maybe if there are any questions the viewers have, please leave them comments below. Do like, share, and subscribe. And remember, we came here to thrive, not just to survive. Thank you.